We weren't the typical college kids. We were, very driven. Our first deal that we actually did on our own, I did a cash advance on a credit card to get the funds to purchase it and to do the rehab. So that's really how we got our start, and it was very unique. And then when we graduated, we went full time into real estate. We'd already, we were doing maybe 4 to 5 deals a month by that time when we graduated. So we did finish, but we were very active in real estate.
Are you tired of trying to keep ahead in the rat race, only to have so much of your hard-earned money going to the tax collector? Equity doesn't pay the bills. Retirement savings don't pay you now, and there are only 24 hours in a day to work. The only solution is passive income that pays you 24/7 now, not 40 years from now. From vetted investment opportunities to tax saving strategies, let John guide you through all the confusion and take control of your financial life in pursuit of financial freedom. So sit back, relax, and welcome to the Wealth and Freedom Nexus.
Good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on when you're listening to this. This is John Rickgarn, your host, as always, of the Wealth and Freedom Nexus podcast. Thank you again for tuning in. And today is November 30th of 2022 for episode 59. Hard to believe that we're approaching podcast number 60 from when I started this November of 2021. And here we are with a month left in 2022. 2023 is very, very fast approaching. Now, as you've probably gathered from numerous podcast episodes that I've had on also this year, as well as early 2021, we've covered turnkey providers, and I would say relatively well-known or fairly well-known markets such as Mid-South home buyers in Memphis, Tennessee. We've had Freedom Real Estate from the Dayton, Ohio or Central Ohio area, as well as Build to Rent Direct down in Central Florida, which little teaser, we're going to be having Wagner Nolasco back on in December to kind of give us a little update on the Florida market, as well as some updates and what he sees in the market for 2023. So be sure to always hit that subscribe button and never miss an episode. So with this episode, as well as a little hint into one I'm going to be having in January of 2023, this is an introduction to a turnkey provider, as well as 2 markets that are large MSAs, but a little bit under the radar, probably not as well known to investors, and probably a lot of people wouldn't even give it a second glance, so to speak. And whenever I hear of a market where I think the numbers make sense, where there is demographic trends that are going upward, people moving in, jobs, factories, large business relocating to these areas, also, building onto the tax basis. Anytime there is growth and a diverse economic engine running these areas, obviously the people are going to follow, and the real estate demand is going to follow as well, because yes, people are going to move to where they like to work, live, and invest, and wherever that is, they have to have a roof over their heads. So just kind of interesting how this all ties together. And one of these markets that we're going to be going over today with my guests, and I do say that plural, I have been to myself several times. I was actually last there in June of this last year here in 2022. I met their team at their local office there. I was, impressed with what they had and what they were doing and the number of properties that they managed, as well as this isn't your typical turnkey provider, and that I was actually impressed that while they are specific to the types of property and types of investors they will work with, you could go to them and say, maybe you inherited a property in this market, or maybe you find a off-market listing, or, maybe even lucked out and bought one right off the MLS. And it's a great rental property, cash flow is nice, but it's like, I don't want to manage this property. You can actually work with this company, and they will probably take over the management responsibilities from you, even though you did not purchase this property directly from them. Many times with turnkey providers, they will only manage properties that they themselves have rehabbed, built, renovated themselves. So this was kind of another interesting tidbit that I liked about this company as I've started to network with a number of real estate investors as well as fellow realtors in this market. So I do foresee investing in this market. I wouldn't say immediately, but it is definitely on the horizon. And whether that's a property that I get through the company or from my own sphere of influence network, what have you, definitely liked having these additional options. So with that, today's guest is a husband and wife team. They are business owners, fellow entrepreneurs, as well as fellow podcasters. They do a podcast as well that you can find on all your favorite podcast platforms. We'll mention that in the show as we get into the interview. And as always, for all of you out there, be sure to like, subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcast platforms, and follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at W Freedom Nexus, as I am gearing up a lot of content that I will be dropping every single week, and in some cases with Instagram and Twitter every single day for 2023, for little financial nuggets to increase your wealth, increase your cash flow, and probably most importantly, decrease your taxes. With that, we will jump right into today's interview after a word from this week's sponsors. Buying rental homes are one thing, but buying older homes could bring more headaches for a new real estate investor. Outdated wiring, cracking foundations, and hazardous materials like asbestos are not things a beginning investor should have to deal with nor worry about. Why not start with a brand new construction home in one of the fastest growing areas in the U.S., Central Florida? Wagner Nolasco and his team, Build to Rent, have over 3,000 homes in various stages of development and work only with real estate investors. Their new homes feature tenant resilient amenities like vinyl floor plank, lower insurance premiums than older homes, and possibly even very low property taxes for the first year or two. To find out more and learn how this is all possible, go to buildtorentdirect.com or text 407-927-5074. That's rentdirect.com. Hey, Shawn and Joni, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having us, John.
Yeah, so as you can probably tell from the backdrop, Shawn and Joni also are in the podcasting world. They have a much fancier setup than I have. I just have my little dinky office with a backdrop and my $80 microphone from Amazon. So.
I love it.
Yeah, so I think I'll probably get pretty good audio versus the iPhone and earbuds that I sometimes get. So, anyways,
we built onto it. So we started off with a smaller version, and then every once in a while, I don't know how many episodes in, we'll add
every 100 episodes. So we
okay.
Yeah, it's evolved.
Yeah.
So when you hit your 100, I'm sure your podcast will start looking different.
Yeah, we'll see there. I got I think I'm at 47 or 48 at the time of this recording, so I got a ways to go. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
It takes commitment and consistency. So
yeah,
nice.
Exactly. Well, anyways, maybe we'll just jump right in. Obviously, we could probably talk about podcasting and numerous other topics, but kind of for the focus of today, how did both of you get started in real estate?
So we were high school sweethearts. So we started together. We grew up together. We have done life together. But, so I saw a late night infomercial in college. So I think it was my freshman year in college. I had the benefit and I was fortunate that my parents had lent me or given me a little bit of money to go to college. And I went on a scholarship, academic scholarship, but I was able to take some of that money that they had given me to go to school, and I bought a bunch of boot camps and seminars. And back in the day, it was Russ Whitney was the guru. This is 22 years ago. So time. And we did the whole package, mentorship program, wholesaling program, note program. There was a bunch of things that we went to all over the country. But the biggest thing that really helped us and made a big impact on us was the mentorship program. So we had a guy from Detroit, Michigan that flew out to Albuquerque. We lived in Albuquerque at the time. And helped us with, our first 6 deals. So we did he not only mentored us for a week, but then when he left, he said, "Hey guys, if you need help or money or resources, I'll walk you through everything and help you." And so we were 19 years old at the time, and he, kind of walked us through our first 6 deals. He put up the money, we did all the effort and work, and we split the profits 50-50. And so that's really what got us the start, or got us into the real estate. And so throughout college, Joni and I just flipped houses, and we went to school in the morning, and then we would set our schedules. So in the morning we had our classes, in the afternoon we would check our job sites and flip.
I mean, at 19 we did, that mentorship program was the key there, because I mean we didn't know anything, right?
Sure.
And as a matter of fact, so Shawn, backing up, his parents lent him the money, or set aside some money for him to go to college, and we used that money obviously to buy boot camps, and they were livid. They thought, like, what are you doing, right? Like, you're wasting all your money on real estate courses. This is insane. And so, but we stuck with it, and I mean, I think we started with wholesaling, and then we did some pre-foreclosure investing, and didn't really have a normal college experience, I guess. We were playing cash flow games.
Oh, sure. Yep.
So
instead of flipping quarters for beer games, you were flipping houses.
Exactly.
Or maybe you were doing both. I don't know.
So we weren't the typical college kids. We were, very driven. Our first deal that we actually did on our own, I did a cash advance on a credit card to get the funds to purchase it and to do the rehab. So that's really how we got our start. And it was so very unique. And then when we graduated, we went full time into real estate. We'd already, we were doing maybe 4 to 5 deals a month by that time when we graduated. So we did finish, but we were very active in real estate.
And it was the right at the height of the foreclosure market, right? We actually got into pre-foreclosure investing, and New Mexico was a judicial state, so it just took a lot longer, for properties to get foreclosed on.
Yep.
Where in Texas, it was a non-judicial state. So we had a partner that was here in Texas, and we thought, hey, like, it makes more sense, right, to do business in Texas. So we sold our house in New Mexico, moved over to Texas. Really, we probably had maybe $20,000 in our bank account. No house. We actually, lived with our partner let us live in his house for a little bit until we purchased our own house here. But so we would knock on doors. I mean, we would actually knock probably on
25 doors.
25 doors a day.
Wow.
Just a young couple, like, just trying to help out, homeowners. And we did that for about a decade.
Yeah. So judicial in Texas, so houses are posted 21 days prior to the auction. So they have a 21-day window to make a decision. So it was just, at the time, it was a great niche. We got very good at it, and, knocking doors all morning, and then, we'd run our rehabs in the afternoon, and then at night we go follow up. This is before kids. We go knock on the doors where there was motivation, or we sensed motivation, or they called back and said, "Hey, can we, come after work?" So we did that for over 10 years. And that's all we did was pre-foreclosure investing. We built our rental portfolio during that time. But and this is all before kids. So Joni and I, it was fun. We had a good time. If we were bored in the afternoon and nothing to do, we'd go see a movie, or, but it was just, we worked out of our house, and we call those the good old days, because now we have all the staff, all this responsibilities, and those days it was
we just take off, let's go watch a movie today.
We had a lot more freedom than we do today, but it comes with it's a different time in our season in our life. We had a good time.
Cool. So, and then just a note for all my listeners too, in case this is the first time you've heard about it, don't want to go down the rabbit hole today, but as far as the wholesaling, as far as how that impacts real estate, feel free to check out episode number 34, where I kind of did a deep dive into that, what wholesaling is and what that incurs. Now, Shawn, you kind of alluded to this a little bit. Obviously, you were flipping houses in college. Did you just kind of have, you and Joni have your own real estate business, and then did that just morph into a property management company, turnkey company, or how did that come about later?
Yeah, so Joni's always been so even I think at 1920, she got her real estate license. So she was always our active real estate broker for our companies. but no, after flipping homes, much like the TV shows and, buying houses, putting them on MLS, Joni would be the active listing agent and sell all our properties for us. And we sell them to homeowners. It was 2010 that, Texas started to feel a little bit of the recession or what people had gone through in 2008 and 2009. And so we just, we had built up our own rental portfolio, and we were approached by a lot of people that said, hey, we want to duplicate what you guys have done, but we don't want to source the properties. We don't want to manage them. I don't want to have to rehab them. And so we decided at that time it was a good niche and a good pivot for us. Our rehabs were taking a lot longer to sell because the market had slowed down. And so we just said, well, hey, wonder if we start every house that we rehab, we just put a tenant in place and then sell it as an investment property to a homeowner, to an investor.
Okay.
And so that's what really got us into that niche was the turnkey. We said, hey, let's start a management company. Let's start selling all these properties as turnkey rental properties. And so in 2010, we bought several homes. We were actually, the funny part is looking back at how naive we were, because it was like we were buying homes for like 30 to 45,000, and we put 15, 20 into it and then sell it and make 20,000. We're like, well, wonder if nobody buys all these homes, we're gonna end up with all these rentals.
That would have been great. We should have been
exactly.
rentals.
And those same homes today sell for like 200 and something.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, we should have. Looking back, we should have bought as many as we could have gotten.
Yeah.
So.
And I can remember we were a little terrified because retailing all these years. I was actually 7 months pregnant with our son.
Oh, wow.
And so we're talking about, making this pivot and change into turnkey real estate investing. And we're like, shoot, what if this doesn't work, and then what? This is all we have. But we did it, and not knowing anything about property management, okay, now these investors are purchasing these deals. Now we need a property management company to manage these. We didn't know nothing about property.
So
management.
first 5 months, we were running everything. We didn't have a property spreadsheets. We didn't have a property management software. We were sending our clients Excel spreadsheets with their owner statements every month. But you start somewhere, and so we decided to buy a national franchise model, and so we bought a real property management franchise. As our property management company. So we wanted rather than reinvent the wheel, we just went out and purchased a franchise during that time. So that's how we got into the property management space, was the purchasing that franchise. And so it was good. It's the name. We had the marketing system. We had the softwares. We had the everything. Obviously a franchise, it comes with a business in a box. So
sure,
a lot of the stuff we didn't have to figure out on, and because we were already buying and selling homes and renovating, we were very active on that side of it. So we just didn't really want to have to duplicate or rebuild a whole new business from scratch. So but that's how we got into that space. And so kind of fast forward to 2015, we had done hundreds of turnkeys, and we're starting to manage, I don't know, by that time we were already 600-700 doors.
About 700.
And so then we decided to get into new construction. So we started the market, obviously many places in the country, inventory started to get very tight by that time, especially in Texas. And so we pivoted again and did way less remodels and started going into new construction. And so we started building infill lots. We build single family homes and duplexes. And anymore today, that's all we've done the last 3 years is just new construction.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
small developments, but mainly on infill lots. And we're the builders, but everything's done with the intent to sell it as a turnkey rental. The back end. So
we love the product, and then also we felt like our clients loved that as well. It just gave them a better product. Sure. Not as much maintenance over time, that kind of thing. So
yeah, I think that was the big thing with the rental properties is at the remodels. Our client was expecting a very, all the deferred maintenance, taken care of. So they were expecting new roofs, new HVAC, new electrical. It's like, well,
things go out. I mean, right?
There's no profit left to be made. So we learned a ton in new construction. We made a lot of mistakes. We didn't know what we didn't know. But it's been a really good niche for us. And so anymore today, we manage 1,550 doors between
Houston and Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Yes, we're still active in Albuquerque, which is where came from. we're born and raised in Santa Fe, but then we went to UNM in Albuquerque. That's how and then to Texas. So, and we branched out into a couple other businesses since then. But the main source of our income and our main businesses are the two management companies and then the development company.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, and I didn't even know that. I didn't even know there was a franchise for property management. I thought it was just all mom and pop shops nationwide, basically.
Yeah. And it's starting to get more. The space is definitely changing. There's much more institutional companies, tech companies that are in the space, and it's the whole landscape's definitely changing.
Yeah, and I think, and you might even know him before we had this interview. I was interviewing Wagner Nolasco in Central Florida, and he was even mentioning with all the changes and short supply. I think Blackstone had just put up $26 billion to buy real estate. So obviously, if the institutions are getting into it, I think real estate investing is always going to be a good business to get into. Are you tired of the roller coaster of the stock market? The S&P 500 just had its worst start to a year in over 50 years. The NASDAQ is down 25%. The Dow is in correction territory, and past stock darlings like Netflix are down over 60% year to date. Why not invest in assets that provide constant cash flow and growth unrelated to the stock market? From private businesses to cryptocurrency, the options are nearly endless. I myself have invested in promissory notes, self-storage syndications, a Bitcoin mining fund, and even a teak parcel down in Nicaragua in my retirement accounts. IRAs, solo 401ks, even HSAs don't have to be constrained by traditional stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. And that is why I trust Amanda Holbrook and the Specialized Trust team with my retirement accounts. Reach out to Amanda today, 505-514-0587, or go to specializedtrustcompany.com for a free consultation today.
Sure.
Now, Shawn, you had mentioned, maybe just taking a step back here for, concentrating on Houston, one of the two main markets that you work in. Maybe just, for my listeners and maybe even myself, why should someone consider Houston? Is it, less, for lack of a better term, crazy than some of the other markets? Just the other day, I heard of a multifamily being sold in Austin, Texas for a whopping 2 cap. So is Houston a little bit less crazy? Shall we say?
Austin is that part of Texas still? Just kidding.
No, so Houston's nothing like Austin.
Okay.
Houston's what I love about is I think anywhere in Texas other than Austin's gone a little.
It's gotten crazy.
Yeah, just with all the tech companies moving there and the tech industry, it's gotten much more like the Bay Area as far as kind of that influence in Houston. But I'm sorry, in Austin. But Texas overall, has done really well. The whole state, number one, it's pro-business. It's conservative, so it's usually landlord friendly, except for Austin. I would say it's shifting,
and it's still affordable.
And then it's just you can get a healthy income for the cost of living. Right. So our cost of living is just compared to a lot of places in the country, it's still pretty affordable. Okay. But Houston is kind of I've always considered it like the blue collar city of Texas. Okay. So that's the biggest differentiator between us and Dallas.
Right.
Which we get asked a lot is I think we're just much more blue collar, harder working. If you're ever here after a hurricane, people just help out each other. People just roll up their sleeves, get to work, do whatever it takes. And so it's got that mentality behind it. Maybe like a Midwest feel, but in Texas. So, but we've grown tremendously as far as population growth. In Houston, we're the 4th largest city in the country.
Oh wow!
And then we have some of the big factors is obviously we're still heavily oil and gas related. So 40% of our economy is still oil and gas. Okay. But it's much more diversified than it was in the 80s. We've got the largest medical center in the entire world. We have the 10th largest port in the world. So there's a lot of other factors. Tech is also coming in. Hewlett Packard just relocated its headquarters just in spring, just north of Houston on the north side suburb of Houston. Okay. So we're getting some of the tech jobs as well, but not as much as Austin, but it's still growing. And so Houston's been heavily attracting job growth, but then also just population growth. The amount of U-Haul one-way destination is from California to Houston. That's the number one.
Not
U-Haul.
Houston to California, just to
No,
verify.
Right.
So it's a one-way.
Yeah.
They'll actually pay you to drive a U-Haul back to California.
Yeah, I think I read some. God, this was probably like 6 or 8 months ago. There was actually, like you mentioned, they were paying people to drive the U-Hauls back because I can't remember if it was San Francisco or San Diego, where, but like they were out of U-Haul trucks. They were just had none in whatever city it was. So,
but it's still affordable. You know, our price points of our new construction range anywhere from, for single family, anywhere from 185 to 250. And then our duplexes are 385. So you factor that and look at that in retrospect to the rest of the country, it's still very affordable.
Yeah. And I think as the time of this recording, maybe a month ago, I was reading like the median home price nationwide grant from Hollywood, Marshall, Minnesota would just surpass $400,000. So obviously Houston being under the median price point is definitely a positive thing.
Absolutely.
So
Correct.
all right. Now you kind of both of you alluded this to your, high school sweethearts, went to college in New Mexico. So obviously I remember first time hearing about you, I was like, how in the world they get set up in Albuquerque and in Houston? It's like 900-mile drive between the two. I'm sure you fly, but obviously I can kind of see the, hometown family connections, etc.
Exactly.
But taking a pivot, that direction, obviously we talked about Houston, but why should investors, maybe look at Albuquerque, or what would be the positives over there?
Well, I think so. Backing up a little bit. So we purchased our real property management Albuquerque franchise after we had purchased our Houston franchise. And the reason why is because we had family there. We thought, oh, shoot, well, we can just, create a business in Albuquerque and go visit our family, which really didn't work out that well. But over the process, Shawn and I we probably have about 20 rental properties ourselves there, right? And so we're kind of in it for the long term.
Okay.
And so you had mentioned, Albuquerque is kind of like the sleepy market.
Right.
Right. And so, I think the last 10 years it had been like that, but now we have new companies coming in as well. Facebook is in Albuquerque now. Now it's
did not know that.
Of filming in Albuquerque as well. So I think we're coming out of that sleepy stage.
Yeah, it's one of the second, I think it's the second most filmed areas in the country. So Netflix has a bunch of its studios there. Facebook has a data plant there.
Okay.
But Netflix has a studios. NBC bought a bunch of studios there. So, really Breaking Bad was what put New Mexico on the map. But if you notice, a lot of new, so the season 4 of Stranger Things was all filmed in New Mexico.
You have kids, you'd know that. Our kids got into that.
So there's a lot of shows now that are coming out of, especially on Netflix, out of New Mexico. So it's got Kirtland Air Force Base, Sandia National Labs. So it's still a lot of government related jobs, like the labs, the Air Force Base. And
it's beautiful as well. We have a lot of second homes out there. You have the largest balloon festival out there.
So it's a pretty place. So a lot of people retire there, but because it's beautiful and just visit. But it started now with the other job companies relocating. It's starting to get a lot of economical growth as well, and so which has been
exciting to see, really.
But what we like about Albuquerque as well is you have some land restrictions. So similar, I think, to like Nevada or Vegas. It's got landlocked restrictions. So you got Indian reservations north and south of the city. And then you got the mountains on the east side. So the only way the city can grow is west. So it creates some force appreciation and just naturally because it doesn't got any more land to go. So you got to go west or on the other side of the mountain. But then you're talking about a big commute. So.
Yeah. Okay. And if you go too far west, you're in Arizona at that point, so you can't really go too much farther.
So we like it, and we manage a little over 400 homes.
Yeah, and because of the low inventory there, it's our rentals fly off the shelves probably within a couple of days. So.
We still have one of the lowest vacant. Throughout COVID, we ran less than a 1% vacancy rate throughout
Wow.
COVID there. It was insane how there just wasn't enough homes on the market for what was needed. So.
Oh, okay. Interesting. All right. Now, between the two markets, and I mean, every investor is a little bit different. I still chuckle when I hear someone like, well, I'm negative cash flow, $200 a month, but hey, I'm going to make it up on that appreciation later on, which I think people tried to do that in 08 and we know what happened.
Right.
But myself, I'm very much, cash flow first and appreciation comes second. I kind of consider that the icing on the cake, so to speak. If, investors like me are kind of geared more towards cash flow, hey, I'm not so worried about appreciation. Between Albuquerque and Houston, is there one that kind of fits that model more than the other, or are they about the same?
So you're going to get more. They're very similar. The rents are higher in Texas than they are in Albuquerque, but the price points
and the property taxes are a little more or more in Texas.
Yeah, the property taxes are a lot higher, and insurance is higher as well in Texas. So it kind of offsets the higher rent that you get. Price point wise, you're going to be very similar. But so return wise, they're equal. I would say Houston. A little bit more cash flow. And then, so I always say that Houston, you get a little bit of everything.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I say.
Yeah, a little bit of cash flow. You get appreciation, and the thing about Houston is it's not like a California, Nevada, or Arizona market. It's very consistent. So Houston, we don't have the massive run-ups, but at the same time, we don't have the big declines.
Sure. So, and that's kind of what our investors really love. They get a little bit of everything, right? And so, I mean, if I had an investor that absolutely needed to sell today, regardless of where the market was, they would be able to.
Okay, cool. So, all right. So I kind of always have with your business, even a kind of a continuous stream of business where the house you sold to Mr. and Mrs. Smith 10 years ago, now they want to sell. And well, we just so happen to have a waiting list of people wanting to buy properties. And maybe it doesn't even need to hit the MLS or the market for it to sell.
Right. Yeah, we sold a lot of preferred rental. We actually have a preferred rentals program where we'll kind of recycle it. So we have an investor to sell, we'll recycle to our investors and try to keep it. Yeah,
we had a client that he ended up with, I think about like 20 some homes altogether, but in multiple markets. But he, that was one of the things that he really praised us about was he went through a bad divorce and had to liquidate half of his portfolio. So the thing and he didn't want to have to sell them, but the markets he had invested in, so some were some very cash flow driven markets. So the cash flow is higher,
I think,
or Ohio, some other places. But the problem is he couldn't sell them. So when he needed to liquidate for the divorce, he couldn't move those properties. The only place he could move the properties quickly was Houston, because so some of them went to like clients that could buy another investment property. Others, we just put on MLS and it would sell to a homeowner quickly. So I mean, he hated to see his Houston go.
He was so upset that he had to let go of Texas.
But he listed his whole package, and Houston was the only ones that was selling. So I mean, that's the trade-offs. That when you do need to get out, you have that advantage of a market that's very healthy. So worst case, we can put on MLS and sell within 30 days. Yeah.
All right. Very interesting. So, And you had kind of mentioned this, Shawn, and I don't know if you can speak to back with, whole housing downturn back in 2007, 2008. As I understand it, Texas wasn't impacted near as much as, the Las Vegas, the Californias, the Floridas. And correct me if I'm wrong, I believe I was told or read somewhere that Texas did not allow for those crazy mortgages, like 110% loan to value or some ridiculous thing. Is that true, or is there more to that?
We had, we still had the zero down, no doc loans. I just don't think it was as prevalent. People taking advantage of it as much as maybe Florida or
sure.
But we were the first. Houston was the first city to rebound coming out of the recession. So meaning its pre-recession numbers, it was the first city. We really only, if anything, overall as a whole city, maybe declined 5%. It wasn't even that. It was really, we just flattened out and then just kept going. But a lot of that was driven by oil. So if you remember, oil started to go crazy in 2014, I think it was 2013.
Okay.
So that's when it went over $100 a barrel for a while. So that helps, because then obviously oil companies are hiring and putting money back into the economy, and so we benefited from that. But that's the thing with Texas, is you don't have the big run-ups, but at the same time, we don't have the big declines. It's a very stable, non-sexy, gradual increase.
Sure.
That's what our investors love about it, is that, hey, I'm not having to time the market perfectly. I'm just getting a healthy, nice incremental return that keeps going, but I don't have these big, massive declines in a recession or in a downturn. So.
Okay, yeah, slow and consistent. That's my philosophy for
investing. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, this has been interesting. I actually learned some things about New Mexico and Houston that I didn't know about before we hopped on. Is there anything maybe high level you want to share with my listeners, maybe something I should have asked but didn't, or any new projects coming up in 2023, or breaking out in another state market or anything like that? Or
no new markets, no new businesses. Yeah, but I mean, it's. I
think just going into this, market, just for your listeners, be careful, right? Because we did, 2008, 2009, we had some friends that over leveraged themselves, and they're not in business anymore. So
yeah, so I think you want to invest. I think now is still a great time to buy real estate. I think that's the thing that there's a lot of people on the fence. There's a lot of people just kind of waiting and watching. I still think one of our lenders, preferred lenders, he had a good post the other day that he said, date the rate, but marry the property, something like that.
Yeah, date the rate, but marry the property. Was that it? I think
yeah. So I mean, what he's getting at is like, pick a good market that has strong job growth, strong population growth, that's gonna over time do really well. And the rate, yes, it's not. We're not. A year ago, we're not. In that market. Interest rates are still if you remember historically, they're still at a very good interest rate right now today that you can lock in at. So I mean, but hey, worst case scenario, if rates go down in a year or 2 years from now, you can always refinance and do it. So now's the time to lock up, secure something, still buy. I think just do it on the right financials. This is a market you can be a little bit more selective. You don't have to overpay or you can be more selective on what you can get. So I think, but still, my biggest regret out of the 22 years of investing in real estate is I didn't buy more. So it's never that
I hear that from every single investor I talk to. So
I've never looked back and say, man, I shouldn't have, there's been some properties I shouldn't have bought, but there wasn't. There's some other circumstance. It's not that I wish I wouldn't. I should have just held or sat on the sidelines. I wish I would have done more, because looking back, this model, or especially rental real estate, tenants are paying down your mortgage. You're getting some, even if it's just little appreciation, you're not basing everything on that, but you're getting some. But where I've seen my greatest wealth creation has been in cash flow, equity, the equity pay down from over 10 years, when you see how much your mortgage has been paid down. And then, like, especially the last 12 years, what our personal portfolio has appreciated with the tenant pay down, it's been huge. And then the depreciation or the tax savings for us as well, on our earned income, it's dramatically helped us. So I still think now's the time to do it, still to buy. Now you can be a little bit more selective and get the right property. So.
No, it makes sense. So, all right. Well, this has actually been really interesting, and like I said, I've learned quite a few things about Houston and Albuquerque and your companies. If any of my listeners were interested, in reaching out, what's your available inventory, your management services, or even your podcast that you do, what's the best place to reach out to?
Sure.
Yeah. So our podcast is Inside the Wolf's Den. You can see it on the background there. So it's on every major platform. Also, you can get a hold of me on pretty much, and Shawn on social media, Facebook, Instagram.
Okay.
Joni Wolfswinkel, Shawn Wolfswinkel, and then our emails if you like. Yeah.
So, and our company is Texas Turnkey Properties. So you can go to TexasTurnkeyProperties.com. Our property management company is htownrpm.com. But you can use those domains and get a hold of either one of us. So Shawn at TexasTurnkeyProperties.com or Joni at rpm.com.
Yep.
So
Okay.
and
Yeah, I wonder what TTK stood for. Now that actually kind of makes sense. Now that I hear it spelled out. Like,
For sure.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Sounds good. Well, and again, for all those listening, I'll have all these links in the show notes so you don't have to hit the rewind button and track down a pen and paper to try to get all those emails, websites, and everything else. So again, Shawn and Joni, this has been a pleasure to have you on the show. And thank you for educating my listeners on 2 new markets that they might want to look into.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having us on.
yeah, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Be sure to share, rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. For more updates, check out www.wealthandfreedomnexus.com. Remember, nothing on this show should be considered tax, legal, investment, or professional advice. This show is produced solely for educational and informational purposes. Please consult an appropriate and licensed tax, legal, real estate, or business professional for specific advice for your situation. For distribution or publication rights or media interviews, please contact the host.